Today on Ballistic Burgers, I'm going to be cooking up my copycat version of BÄRCHEN Mac, which is an amazing cheeseburger from the BÄRCHEN Beer Garden out of Omaha, Nebraska. Let's get going. Before we start cooking this burger, a quick shout out to Exmark Manufacturing for inviting me to participate in their Backyard Life campaign for a 4th season now, so thank you. For those of you who don't know, the Backyard Life campaign is basically, it's a section of their website that encompasses, well, obviously outdoor cooking, DIY, landscaping, hardscaping, hunting, fishing, you name it. If you like the outdoors, it's there. And while you're there, you may as well go to their main page and check out some of the best lawnmowers on the planet, including their new V series of electric mowers, all the power of their gasoline mowers, 0 emissions, and very, very little maintenance. Let's make this burger now. I'm kicking this off with their mac sauce, and what I'm doing is making basically a very elevated, kind of a Big Mac sauce. I have here 1/2 cup of Japanese mayo, and I will have the ingredients for this sauce down below. 1½ teaspoons of sweet pickle relish, 1½ teaspoons of hot German mustard, 1 teaspoon white sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of red wine vinegar. I have here 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. Then last but certainly not least, 1 teaspoon of melted beef Wagyu fat. Get that in, then I'm going to immediately start mixing this up to get that, make sure that melted tallow emulsifies into the sauce here. All right. Wow. And that tallow actually really stands out. I mean, in a good way. Wow. Very good. Very rich. Set this aside. Now we're going to grind the beef for the patties. So BÄRCHEN Beer Garden is using an American Wagyu for their patties. I'm doing a custom grind here. What I have here is a chuck steak. This is Japanese A5, and this is an American Wagyu. It's probably a BMS of between 5 and 8, I guess. And this is actually an end trimming, basically off of the rib roast when they were staking it out. So I bought this at a discount. The meat market that I bought this at here in San Diego sells pretty much exclusively Wagyu, and they have an area in their counter they call the ugly cuts, and that's what this was. I'll take it for ground beef though. So the ribeye is this is about 8 ounces, and what I'm going to do is cut an 8-ounce portion off of this beautiful A5 Wagyu chuck, and then I'm going to cube them up and grind them together. And that looks about right. Look at that. The chuck was much thicker steak than this. Let's get to grinding. So I've got the coarse grind plate on my grinder here. I like it chunkier. One thing about ground Wagyu is, especially if you buy it, it's, for me at least, it just seems, I don't like the texture as much. It's kind of, you know, especially the raw meat, it's more gooey and kind of pasty. I want it to be a little bit more chunky, so I'm going with it's a chili grind plate. As far as the grind's concerned, I'm going to be adding like the A5 along with that American Wagyu at the same time. Kind of keep them mixing together as they grind. And there we are. That looks great. So I'm going to portion out 2. I'm going to go with maybe a little over 4-ounce meatballs. Kind of keep them loosely packed. Then I'll meet you guys at the griddle. So I'm running the flat top and medium high right now. Here's those 2 Wagyu meatballs. Each one of these is 4.5 ounces. Right here, gonna lay down a little. This is some Wagyu beef tallow. Not that I need any, I got a whole ton of it coming out of these patties here. Put down some salt. Get a toast on these buns. Oh gosh, look at that. Nice. Good old American cheese. He's domed. Do this. So on the bottom bun, we're laying down, this is what they're calling shaved greens. They use iceberg lettuce. And I used a mandolin to get this really, really finely shredded. And I love very finely shredded iceberg lettuce on a burger. I just think it adds, even though it doesn't have a lot of flavor, this the texture, I love it. Burger patties down. Now we're going with homemade pickles down. These are homemade, and I will have the recipe down below. But with all this richness of this Wagyu, we definitely need this acid and these pickles. Some paper thin red onion. Red onion is very, very strong, and this is like the real thick cuts of red onion I'm not a big fan of, but I'll tell you what, like this, it just adds a lot. I mean, it's got that nice spicy bite to it, and again, the extra crunch, but thinly cut, it completely changes red onion. Let's get that mac sauce on. And crown the BÄRCHEN mac. This is a beautiful burger. It's just, again, simple, but very elevated just because of the ingredients. And check that out. Let's give it a try. First of all, that mac sauce, it's money. This thing is delivering exactly what I wanted. Again, that finely shaved iceberg lettuce, it just adds a texture. Hardly any flavor at all, but it's a really nice texture. Those pickles, they're cutting, you know, that acid's cutting the richness of this very, very fatty Wagyu. And again, those nice, spicy, very crisp, paper thin sliced red onions. So good, winner. And you know, if you make this at your home, you don't need to use Wagyu. But boy, especially the home ground, coarsely ground Wagyu, it's better than the stuff you buy in the store. You know, you get that a little bit more texture. Actually, a lot more texture. So good. This thing is amazing. And it was a request, so thank you for that, by the way. Anyway, thank you for stopping by. If you're not subscribed, please consider hitting the sub button, ringing the notification bell, thumb it up if you like it. I hope you did. And make sure you check out the links I have below for Exmark's Backyard Life and their site. Again, some killer lawnmowers if you're in the market for a lawnmower. See you in the next video. Cheers.